Hey y'all, if you're thinking about taking a river cruise, you've probably seen all the beautiful pictures, the castles, the little villages, and of course the ships. But what is it actually like to be on board one of those river cruise ships? Today, I'm taking you on a complete tour of the Avalon Vista, the ship we sailed on for our Rhine River cruise. I'm going to show you all of the spaces on board where you eat, where you relax, where you get information about your day, and of course, the best place on the ship to watch the river go by.
At Journeys Justified, we turn your cruise travel dreams into unforgettable experiences. Our expert planning takes the stress out of travel so you can focus on creating magical memories with your family.
One thing I really noticed about river cruising compared to cruising on a huge ocean ship is just how easy everything is. You don't have to walk a mile to get somewhere. You don't have thousands of people getting on and off the ship at the same time. Every time you board the ship, you're coming back onto the same deck, and there's always someone there to welcome you. So let's start right there. One of the things I really enjoyed about the Avalon Vista was how familiar the ship felt. Every time we came back from an excursion, we boarded on the same deck, and the first thing we walked into was the lobby. It's staffed, so there's always somebody available if you have a question or need help. And right here is where you'll find the cruise director's desk. And I have to say, our cruise director was wonderful, and she was approachable and ready to help. You'll also find these kiosks in the lobby. These are really handy because you can use them to find information about your schedule and what's happening on board. And you can also find Avalon items for sale here. One of the most important things these kiosks are used for is checking in and out when you're in port, because you're going to be coming and going quite a bit on a river cruise. You'll get off for excursions, explore the town, come back to the ship, have lunch, and then head out again. So this makes it really easy for Avalon to keep track of who's on board and who's still ashore. Let me tell you about the headsets. For every Avalon excursion, you're given a headset. And I love this because if you've ever been on a big tour with a tour guide, you know how frustrating it can be when you're standing in the back of the group and you can't hear what the guide is saying. Or maybe you're taking a picture and you've fallen a little behind. With these headsets, you can still hear your guide. So you're not having to stand shoulder to shoulder with everybody just to hear what's happening. You can actually spread out a little bit, take pictures, look around, and still hear your guide explaining what you're seeing. And that is a huge plus for me. Now let's head into one of my favorite areas on board, the Panorama Lounge. This is really one of the social hubs of the ship. Every day there's happy hour, and this is where everyone starts coming together. There are select drinks available at no additional charge, and this became a really fun part of the day. And I have to tell you about the drink we discovered. It was called the Halada, and we got one or more every single day. And I'm not exaggerating, we liked it that much. It was so delicious that before the cruise was over, we actually wrote down the exact recipe because we wanted to be able to make it when we got home. At the front of the Panorama Lounge is what Avalon calls the Bistro, and every day there was a small lunch buffet here. This was really convenient on days where you didn't necessarily want to sit down in a restaurant. You could grab something, sit in the lounge, relax, and enjoy the scenery. You'll also find coffee and hot chocolate machine here, and there was flavored water available throughout the day. So this was definitely a place where we found ourselves coming back again and again. Another thing that happens here is the evening briefing. Before dinner begins, the cruise director gives everyone a rundown of what's happening the next day, and this was really helpful. And some evenings, the lounge also became entertainment central. There were live music on some nights, there was karaoke, and there were even dance parties. So while a river cruise isn't going to have the same kind of entertainment lineup as a massive ocean cruise ship, there was still plenty happening. If you're looking for something a little quieter, head to the back of Deck 3. This is the Club Lounge. This is a much quieter area where you can relax, grab a drink or a snack, and play some games. I really liked having a space like this because sometimes after a busy day of sightseeing, you don't necessarily want to be in the middle of all the activity. You just want somewhere comfortable to sit down and unwind, and this was perfect for that. Let's head down to deck 2 because this is where you'll find the main restaurant. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served here every day. And one of the things I really enjoyed about the dining experience on the Avalon Vista was how relaxed everything felt. You're not trying to figure out which restaurant you're going to tonight. You're not making reservations for 5 different specialty restaurants. Your meals are part of the experience, and there's something really nice about that simplicity. You can wake up, have breakfast, spend the day exploring, come back on board, and you know that dinner's waiting for you. Now, let's go to what I think is probably the best deck on the entire ship. Let's tour the top deck of the Avalon Vista. This is where you want to be when you're sailing the Rhine, because let's be honest, you're not taking a Rhine River cruise to sit inside. You're here for the scenery, and the scenery is amazing. You've got chairs where you can sit and watch everything go by. There are games set up, there are shaded areas, and there's even a hot tub.
Thinking that our party of 10 couldn't fit here.
But really, the best part is simply being able to sit up here and watch the world go by. And this is something I don't think that you fully appreciate until you're actually on a river cruise. There is a lot of downtime on sailing days. I mean that in the best possible way. You're not constantly running from one activity to the next. Sometimes you're just sitting and you're listening to the river. You're watching the little towns and castles go by, and the cruise director is often being piped through the speakers, giving information about the things that we're seeing along the shore. So you're sitting there, relaxing, and at the same time, you're learning about the area you're sailing through. It was just a really beautiful atmosphere. On several days, we were especially lucky because we were able to have lunch or dinner up here at the Sky Bistro. This is the restaurant area on the top deck, and eating a meal while you're surrounded by river scenery, that's an experience in itself. Instead of looking out of a window, you're actually sitting outside in it. And when you have castles and vineyards and little villages passing by while you're eating, it's pretty hard to beat.
Oh, there's the bikes.
There's the bikes.
One of the most interesting experiences we had on board was getting to tour the bridge. And this was very different from the bridge tours we've experienced on massive ocean cruise ships. On those ships, the bridge can feel enormous with so much equipment and so many different areas. Here, it felt much more intimate. We were able to tour the bridge and actually have the captain answer questions for us. He explained what they were doing and how they navigate the river. And I found this so fascinating. When you're sailing on a river, you're not just out in the middle of enormous ocean. You're navigating a river. There are bridges, there are locks, there are other river traffic and all kinds of things that have to be taken into consideration. Getting to see where all of that happens and actually talk to the captain about it was such a cool experience. And finally, let's head down to deck 1. This is where you'll find the fitness room. Now, it's not a giant cruise ship fitness center, but it's a nice little space if you want to get some movement in while you're on board. And honestly, with all the walking you'll be doing on excursions, you may find that you're getting plenty of exercise anyway, but it's nice to have the option. So that is the Avalon Vista. And I think the biggest thing I took away from this ship was that it really wasn't about having a million things to do on board. And that's not a criticism, it's actually the point. The ship is designed to be your home base while you're experiencing the destination. You're not spending your vacation trying to fit everything into the ship. You're spending your time exploring the towns, walking through the villages, visiting castles, tasting the food, seeing the scenery. and then coming back to a ship that feels comfortable and welcoming. I loved that every time we came back on board, we were welcomed back. I loved having the cruise director right there in the lobby. I loved the Excursion headsets. I loved happy hour in the Panorama lounge, but I think my favorite thing was simply sitting on deck 4 while the ship was sailing. There is something incredibly peaceful about being on the top deck and watching these beautiful places pass by. It's a very different experience from an ocean cruise. And if you've only ever cruised on a huge ship, I think a river cruise is something you should absolutely experience at least once. If you're considering a Rhine River cruise on the Avalon Vista, I hope this tour gave you a better idea of what life on board is actually like. And if you want to see more of our Rhine River cruise, including the excursions, the ports, the food, and all the incredible scenery, make sure you're subscribed because I've got more videos from this trip coming. And as always, if you're planning a cruise and want help figuring out which cruise is right for you, that's exactly what I do. Keep making those memories, y'all.